Hi, everybody. Sam here. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're at in the world today. If you are new to Safe Heart Connections, we are glad you're here. If you are coming back to learn again, we're glad you came back. We're going to be doing a micro interview today with Kim. She is a podcaster and an author, and she has a tip, a thought, or a piece of advice to share with our community today. And for those of you that are new, Safe Heart Connections is an online community group for women that are working on learning to love ourselves more fully, and by default, we get to make connections along the way and improve our lives. So, Kim, I'm so glad that you're here. I've enjoyed our little pre-conversation and getting to know you a little bit. What would you like to share with our community today?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. I've been looking forward to it, and it's a blessing to meet you and to be able to share a little nugget of hope with your listeners and viewers today. Um, my nugget is as one I live with PTSD. I'm a veteran, and I live with PTSD due to an experience that I had while serving in the military, and that can creep up at any time. And it changes the way that you view the world for me, and I can only talk from my own perspective. So it changed my view of the world and how I saw people, how I trust, how I feel, and that also affected many things, such as my health, my mental health, being able to sleep well, nightmares, things like that. And for years and years, for decades actually, I've carried a heavy weight until I was able to start talking to someone. Actually, I was drug to someone. I thought that I was fine because, I'm a veteran. I'm a strong woman. Aren't we all strong? We're moms, we're wives, we work full time, we take care of kids. We're strong. We're the strongest people we know until we're not. And I reached the point that I was not. And other folks, combat veterans that are in my veteran post, recognized some of the signs that I was exhibiting. I never shared my story with anybody. And they said, "Hey, kid," they're Vietnam vets, so they're 20 years older than me. So they call me kid, which, hey, I love. So they said, "Hey, kid, we don't know what you've been through or what you're going through, but we recognize the signs. And if you don't go talk to someone, we will take you to talk to someone and we'll drag you kicking and screaming." And I didn't use very nice language, telling them to pretty much just leave me alone. I'm fine. And they said, "No, you're not. We will take you kicking and screaming if we have to." And they did take me kicking and screaming. I didn't want to go. And they drugged me there. And I'm glad that they did. It was one of the hardest days, but also one of the best days, because that was the day that I also realized I'm not the only one that might feel like this. I'm not the only one that has flashbacks or nightmares. And I'm not the only one that feels completely and totally worthless. And took so long. It's a hard road. It's not easy. And whatever situation you find yourself in, or whatever darkness you might be sitting in, please remember that you're not the only one that's been there. And I had a piece of advice given to me by another combat Vietnam vet, actually. I was at work one day and I broke down. I had a breakdown and I was down in the basement garage sitting on the curb. And this gentleman came and sat down beside me. He said, "I don't know what you're going through." He goes, "But looks to me like you're sitting at the bottom of the barrel." And I was just crying. I couldn't even answer him. And he said, "I've been there and I'm there right now. My wife's got terminal brain cancer and I'm watching her fade away from me." He goes, "And I'm right in the bottom of that barrel with you." He goes, "But one thing I'm doing different than what you're doing, I'm looking up and I'm hanging on by my fingertips, and I'm still looking up because that's where the light is, kid. Keep looking up." I've never forgotten that. Never forgotten that. And so I like to share that with folks. If you're in the bottom of that barrel, quit looking down at all the muck that you're sitting in and hang on by your fingertips if you need to. And my second little piece of advice is one that my counselor gave me. And I've shared this with so many people, and it's helped people, and it helps me every day. you think you're worthless, or you feel worthless, or you're not seen, or you're not heard, or you're just nothing, look in the mirror before you go to bed at night. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, what do you see when you look in the mirror? What do you see? And I first thought, I see a loser, someone who can't cope, someone who can't sleep, someone who can't, the word can't. And then turn that around, because none of it's true. All that stuff that you call yourself, would you call your kids that? Would you talk to your kids that way? Heck no. So next time you're looking in the mirror and you feel that way, you feel that sinking feeling in your gut, look in the mirror and confidently say, and look your own self in the eyes and confidently say, you have a 100% success rate for getting through the tough stuff. Because you're standing here right now, looking yourself in the mirror. You have 100% success rate for getting through the tough stuff. You made it through another day. That is a win. You made it through another tough day. 100%. You can't get any better than that. 100% success rate. When my counselor shared that with me, it was such a mind shift for me. And it literally was like a little light switch went. And now when I have those days, and believe me, dear hearts, I still have really poopy days when sometimes even praying doesn't seem to work. I remind myself, Kim, you're still here. You got 100% success rate. 100% success rate. Hands in the air on that one, huh? So remember
Amen.
that. So remember that. So those are my
Yeah.
little tips, my little nuggets of hope for
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. So I could comment probably on everything, and I'll tell a couple of things. One is, first, thank you for your service. We have a big military family. Almost all the men in our family have served, even some of the women. And so I am in honor. I honor you for what you did in your service. Our country is better because of people like you. And I sometimes think we forget that. We forget what it's cost to have the freedoms that we have. And so I have dealt with some PTSD, but nothing probably, it's not comparing apples to apples. But in my last marriage that was abusive, I definitely had to deal with some PTSD, and it's been 9 years and it's definitely gotten better, but every once in a while something still sneaks up on me. And so having worked through a lot of that, understanding that when those moments happen, what I've recognized is that what I would have done in the past was push those feelings down and ignored it and pretended like it didn't happen. And now I can say, oh, well, that doesn't feel right. And I actually look around, I'll put my hand on my heart and say, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. And that's enough at this point, most of the time, to get me to the other side. That said, I still have really dark days too. Before I started my healing journey, a lot of the women that have been around me for a while know I dealt with suicidal ideations. And September 25th of 2015 is the day I took suicide off the table. And every once in a while, it does not happen very often anymore, but sometimes I'll have a moment. That word worthless that you mentioned was the word I used to describe myself before. And I'll have those feelings. And because I drew that line in the sand, I'm like, nope, it's not an option. Even when something like that comes into my brain, I'm like, yeah, that's not an option. What am I going to do instead? Better figure this out.
Yeah,
And
right.
and I still know the darkness of the muck that you're talking about, and looking down. If you're looking down and you only see the crap on the floor, man, the visual of looking up, because that's where the light is. That's such a good reminder. So the idea that we are not alone, that is a huge reason why I started Safe Heart Connections, to remind us as women, we're all going through something different. It may look different the way it's impacting our life may look different, but we're all going through something, and we do not have to do life alone. Years ago when I was I was teaching at a church thing, and I said, life is about togetherness and me too's. Most of the time when I've gotten myself in trouble in life is when I try to do life on my own. And so it's a big part of why I have Safe Heart Connections. It's a big part of why I bring in women like you to share with our community, so that whenever they're going through life, if there's a female veteran or somebody that's watching or listening that can relate to what you're talking about, they'll be able to click through on this video wherever they're watching and reach out to you. And so that's why the connections are so important. So I'm really thankful that you spent some time with us today. Do you have any closing thoughts? I know I did a little brain dump of my own after. It was just so good. Do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with our community before we wrap?
Just, if someone is sitting there, like I said earlier, if you are sitting in the bottom of that barrel, this is another gentle reminder, a little gentle nudge, and maybe it'll stick in the back of your brain. You got to look up, because looking down is not, you keep looking down in the muck, you're going to trip, you're going to fall, because you don't see where you're going or what's up ahead. That's could be really good for you. Where there's always something to be hopeful for and grateful for. And that might be really hard to recognize when you're in that dark spot, because I know it. I know it is. I know it's hard, but there's always something to be hopeful for. Even if it's just a flower blooming through a crack in the sidewalk that you happen to see, that's hope right there. That's hope right there. So look for those little things that are hopeful, that get you through the day, because it will get you through the day. When you look in the mirror at the end of the day, remember 100% success rate, because you made it through another day, because you're awesome.
Yeah.
And the
Because
world
you are
needs you.
awesome.
The world needs you.
Yes, the world needs you. One thing I want to share before we wrap, because I thought of it as you were speaking again, was how blessed were you to have a community around you that saw that's another part of Safe Heart Connections, is building this community. And whether you have it in Safe Heart Connections or somewhere else, or your veterans post or whatever you have, having those people around you that know who you are, can see the symptoms, the signs, the struggles, and they're willing to drag you if needed, right? That was amazing to me, to have people in your world that were willing to stand in the gap literally for you.
Yes. And it took me a while to realize how amazing that was, simply because of where I was at that time in my life. But now I look back and I'm like, so thankful, so incredibly thankful. And they're still in my life, to this day. And it was quite a while ago. So
very good.
Big
Well,
blessing.
Kim, I'll make sure that your information, where everyone can click through, is where it should be around this video. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, they'll be able to. I really, really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a blessing to meet you and to chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.